Watch, dial, win. Watch News Channel 5 at 6 tonight.
Why did President Bush fail to act on pre-9/11 warning signs? The president and vice president go before the 9/11 Commission. Tonight, what they were asked and how they answered. In Iraq, 10 more U.S. troops are killed. And this photographed abuse of Iraqi prisoners has 6 U.S. soldiers facing court-martial. One last World War II victory. The War Memorial finally opens after a long, hard battle. And a child's landmark legal fight to end the parental rights of his father.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. President Bush and Vice President Cheney together appeared today before the commission investigating the 9/11 attacks. Just over 3 hours later, CBS's John Roberts reports the president emerged from the White House to give his assessment of how it went.
President Bush was short on details, but quick to insist he and the vice president offer their full cooperation to the commission.
I was never advised by my counsel not to answer anything. I answered every question they asked.
Most of the questions went to President Bush as the commission sought answers to whether the White House saw al-Qaeda as a threat to America prior to the attacks, how the president and vice president responded that day, and did they heed the words of CIA Director George Tenet, who said the intelligence system was blinking red with alerts of a possible terror strike. He was asked about his presidential daily brief of August 6, 2001, which warned there is activity in this country consistent with preparations for hijackings or other types of attacks. The president maintains the brief contained no specific threat to act on, but the commission wanted to know why the memo didn't send the government to battle stations as a protective measure. The president, seen walking with his press secretary just before the session, spent days meeting with aides and reviewing documents in preparation. That and the condition he would only appear jointly with the vice president had critics complaining of a conspiracy to get the story straight. Nonsense, said the president.
Look, I mean, if we had something to hide, we wouldn't have met with them in the first place. And I think it was important for them to see our body language as well, how we work together.
As they left the White House, commission members who asked not to be identified said they were pleased with the answers, though 2 complained it should have been public, adding it would have been enlightening. The key question in all this, was terrorism a priority for the incoming Bush administration? And today comes more evidence it wasn't. In transcripts of a speech given 6 months before the attacks, Paul Bremer, now the president's point man in Iraq, warned the new administration seems to be paying no attention to the problem of terrorism. What they will do is stagger along until there's a major incident and then suddenly say, oh my God, shouldn't we be organized to deal with this? They've been given a window of opportunity with very little terrorism now, and they are not taking advantage of it.
Contacted late today, the commission said it might be interested to hear more about Bremer's speech, particularly since it seems to suggest something quite different from what the White House has been saying. Dan?
John Roberts reporting live from the White House. Thanks, John. You may want to note that some of the families of the 9/11 victims point out that it was only under pressure that President Bush finally agreed to the formation of the independent commission, and only under pressure that he finally appeared before it today under his ground rules, on his ground. At the president's insistence, it was a joint appearance with the vice president behind the closed doors of the Oval Office, and there was no audio or video recording and no full written transcript. 10 more American soldiers lost their lives in Iraq today, 8 of them killed in a car bombing that also wounded 4 others. This brings the number of U.S. troops killed in this bloodiest month of the war to at least 126. As the fighting continued in Fallujah, CBS's Kimberly Dozier reports the U.S. military, under the direction of American civilian authorities, was still trying for a deal.
Another nighttime volley of American bombing hit targets in Fallujah. Earlier in the day, Apache helicopter gunships unleashed fire on suspected guerrilla hideouts. The Marines also sent in reinforcements, heavy tanks and armor to back the assault. But even as the fighting continued, there were signs the Americans were looking for other ways out of this conflict. And they launched a plan to slowly